Okay, I want to talk about creating custom events. So we all know about the standard ones that you get. There's load, click, mouse over, mouse out, and on submit. All these standard ones that come built in with the DOM APIs, the web APIs that come in the browser. You get this bundle of events that everybody can use. Every once in a while, though, there's a time where you wish you had an event that you could call on. So something happens on your web page, and you want to have that resulting process automatically called. So, all right, I'm creating an object, and I want to automatically have something happens when something happens to it. That's a situation where you can create your own custom events. So I have a sample web page here, and I've got two paragraphs inside of a main element, and these are being dynamically created in my script. So we'll take a look here in the script. We can see inside the main element, there's nothing there. I'm listening for DOM content loaded, so that means the HTML has been loaded, and I'm running a function. Finding my main element, and then I'm calling a function called add paragraph. I'm calling it twice. It accepts two things. The parent element, which is going to be my main. So I'm passing in main, that's where I want to create my paragraph, and then a string, that's going to be my text. Create element paragraph, I set the text content of that paragraph equal to the text that I've passed in, and then I'm appending the paragraph to the parent that I passed in, and the parent that I passed in was this variable m, which is my main element. So my web page loads, this function runs, it calls add paragraph twice, creates a paragraph, sticks some text inside of it, puts it on the screen. Simple enough. I also have a remove paragraph function where I can pass in the parent and some other element. So let's say inside of here, when the person clicks on that paragraph, I want to remove it. Or when they click on the main element, I'm going to remove the first paragraph inside of here. So we'll say m.addEventListener, listening for a standard event, click. And we're going to call remove paragraph. Actually, instead of calling remove paragraph, because I want to pass in a couple of parameters here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put an anonymous function inside of here. And inside this function, so this one is going to get ev passed to it, and I will call remove paragraph, and I'm going to pass in m, which is the main, right here, and then it's going to need the child, and that will be m dot first element child. There we go. So we jump in here, refresh this, they're automatically created. I click, it removes the first one. I click again, it removes the second one. Okay, pretty basic functionality, nothing really shocking or overwhelming there. What I want to do is I want to create my own custom kind of event, and there's two different ways that we can do this. One is with the command new event, and then you pass in a type. This is a string, which is going to be interpreted as the event type. The second way is with custom event. I do the exact same thing, but I also have the ability to add an object with a property called detail. Detail can be a value, it can be a string, a number, a boolean, or it can be an object or an array, where we pass in other information related to the event, so that when this event gets triggered, we can use that information. Now, I'm just going to go with event this time. There's no extra information that I need to access. So, what are we going to do here? Well, at this point, I'm setting everything up. I'm adding the click listeners to the main to remove things. But I want to, at the point where the paragraph gets added, I want to trigger an event saying, hey, the paragraph was born. And when it's removed, I want to trigger another event saying, hey, the paragraph died. So these two events are things that I can use to then trigger other code to run. So let's create a couple of events. Let's say let born equal new event, and we'll just call it born. And then we'll have another one called died, and the event will be died. Simple enough. Now, I could, if I wanted, make one of these into a custom event add in the property here called detail, and maybe this will be date dot now. So I get the time of death. Okay, we have our two events, born, died. The types are born and died. These are the strings, these are the variables. Keep those straight in your head because you'll need to use them in different places. Down here, when we add the paragraph, before we add it to the screen, we want to dispatch the born event. So I'm going to say paragraph dispatch event, and the event that I want to dispatch is the born event. There we are. So this is going to be the event from up here. This one, this object is what's going to be dispatched from the paragraph. Okay, I can run the code. Nothing's going to happen that was different from before. And that's because nobody's listening for that event. That's the second part of the process. We have to say, hey, you know what? Here's where I use the string that matches here. This is the event that I'm listening for. When it happens, I'm going to call a function called wasBorn. So we need to create that function, wasBorn, and it's going to receive an event object, just like a click event would. So ev.type would be born, and ev.target is going to be the paragraph. All right, let's try that. Refresh. Born, born. There we go. Two events were triggered. These were dispatched. Each of these paragraphs was given a listener for the born event. And when we called dispatch, they both said, hey, I've got a listener for the born event. I've got to go fire that function. And here it is. This is the wasBorn function being called because of this line of code right here. It was listening for it, and then it was dispatched. Now let's add a listener for the other event. So add event listener died. And we're going to call has died. Once again, we get the ev object being passed in, console.log, ev.type, and ev.target. And we can look at ev.detail. Now, nothing new is going to happen because we're not dispatching this anywhere. Here's where we have to dispatch it. When we click and we remove the paragraph, that's the point in time where we want to dispatch it. So ev, or actually we've got the paragraph right here being passed into our function, so we can just say p.dispatch event. Which one do we want to dispatch? Well, it's not the string died. That's what we use in the listener. For the dispatch, it's got to be the object itself. This is the object that we're dispatching. So up here you can see it was called died, but it's not a string. There we go. That is the event. Okay, and we've got everything in here. Yep, console log. Refresh. There's the born events. When we click in main, we're going to be triggering removal of the first paragraph, which means the first paragraph should give us the died event. It should dispatch the died event, and that will trigger its listener. There we go. Died. There's the paragraph, and there's the timestamp. This is the details. This is when it happened. Click again, and there we go. Again, there's the timestamp. Now, this is running the timestamp from when I created the event. We can write some code to change that event, but this is effectively what we are doing. We are adding listeners and dispatching the event. And that's it. You create an event, save it into a variable. That variable is the thing that you dispatch, and the string that you use inside of here is the first argument. That is the event type, and that is what you listen for. You listen for the type, you dispatch the object. You listen for the type, you dispatch the object. Dispatch the object. And there's one other thing that I haven't done in here, which I highly recommend that you should be doing. When you are removing things, so I'm removing this paragraph, I'm never going to be adding that paragraph back again. This paragraph has listeners attached to it. So when you're removing something that has listeners, you should also remove those listeners. So we dispatch the event, has died, and, well, we should, at this point, remove the listeners because it's died. It's going to be removed from the screen right here, so we should get rid of those listeners. And ev.target, that is our paragraph. Remove event listener. The code's written the exact same way. Born, was born, and died, has died. There we are. This removes the listeners, so when it's removed from the screen, it means that the garbage collection process is free to go and throw that away. If we didn't remove these, this paragraph would remain in memory, sitting there, taking up space and taking up resources on our device. So, best practice, remove the listeners. And that's it. That is how to create events, how to create custom events, how to have other properties inside them. So this would be my event.detail.speed, my event.detail.volume, my event.detail. I could create something inside here called time, like that. So event.detail.time, and that's on the died event, yes. So down here, event.detail.time. That's going to give me the same thing. Refresh, click, there we go. There's the detail.time. All right, great. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments.